Hello everyone. I'm just prepping to do a little bit of an online Zoom, so I thought whilst I'm doing this I might as well just make a little video for you. So we're doing a little bit of a larger version of this little forest scene today. Quite straightforward, 2 or 3 different brownie orangey mixes. I do have some greens left on my palette from yesterday's paint. I'm just squirting them to give them a wake up. And just whilst they're resting and waking up nicely, it's like having your first cup of coffee or your first cup of tea in the day. I'm just going to draw very, very faintly an outline of the path that I want to bring down, something like that. I'll draw it a little bit, something like this. Which will allow us to put the trees in the distance and then bring them forward. Now you've seen it, I am going to just give it a bit of a rub out because I don't want it to be seen as much as that. It's really for your benefit. I'm on quite a low energy day today, so doing something that's gentle like this is really quite nice. So I've got my trusty little number 5 brush, and I'm just getting out my little rigger that I like, which is number 0 rigger. And I might just use a small mop brush as well as a small squirrel mop. Maybe a little bit of wax. And maybe a little bit of a card. So I'm going to re-squirt my paints. So they've had one squirting waking up, another squirt. Just get those colours going. And with my little bit of wax, I'm just going to run hit and miss down the edge of that path and maybe a little bit across the path. The across movements help the path lay down. Maybe a little bit in there. So that's my wax done. Hopefully we'll see it later. You only need to do it quite gently. And because it's a larger piece of paper, I'm just going to put a really faint cerulean blue sky into the background. Just a straightforward, quite wet wash up to that path line, so that if anything shows through the trees, we'll be all right because you'll see the sky. Remember, wetting wet dries at least 30% lighter. So this will barely be seen, but you'll know it's there, and it will just poke through the trees. Now, as I said, I'm having quite a low energy day today, So I'm just going to pause the video and let that dry. So there we go, we're all dry. Some people have asked why I take my paper down. It's actually on a board, so I can still move it, which I think is really quite important for me, because sometimes I like it flat, sometimes I like it on a slight gradient. I do quite like the white border that's created around sometimes, but it also helps stop the paper buckling as much when you're painting quite wet. So I'm going to start with a nice yellowy browny colour. So here we are. This is a little bit like quinacridone gold. It is, let me just find the right colour name. Oops, daisy. The right colour name for you. This one is Gamboge Hue. Yeah, so it's a Gamboge yellow hue. Out of the Cottam watercolour ranges. And I'm just going to add on some of this, which is raw sienna, just to take it down a little bit in there, or yellowy tone. That's made it a little bit more orangey. And then I'm just going to add some of this, which is raw umber, into it to make a light brown orangey colour. Now, just to take the red off a little bit, I'm just going to take a little bit of that same blue that I used in the sky, and it just takes the edge off and makes like a mustard colour. So that's what I'm going to be using for now. Remember, you need your paper towel, and we're going to just paint mustard coloured trees in the background, so quite watery, quite thin, and then just let your brush dance around to make a tree shape. So some of these are going to be covered over, and that's fine. So I'm now going to add a little bit more burnt sienna into that, which is like an orangey browny colour. Still quite watery. Very in the heights. And every tree looks different in the forest anyway, so it doesn't matter what you do. I'm just going to put one here as well, same colour. And at any point you can stop and rest. I've just washed my brush off. I'm just going to soften these back a little bit on the edge, just with a damp, clean brush. Add a little bit more burnt sienna into that mix, and a little bit more burnt umber, just to make it a change of colour, keep the interest. And off I go again, painting another one. This one might go off the page. We're just going to carry on painting. The tree is getting gradually darker. If you want to put one in front of these, then you need a darker tone. So we need to keep these background trees fairly light. Put a little one there. Remember, we're not doing a photograph, we're doing a painting, so trees are ideas of trees, not perfect trees, and that's all right. So I've added a little bit more burnt umber into this, and I'm just going to put a tree in front. So I'm building depth in the forest. The darker colours come more to the foreground. More saturated colours come further forward as well. At the moment we want them to stay towards the back. Brush off. I'm just going to soften those down a little bit on the pathway, and we're just going to work and build that up using whatever colours you want. They're your trees, that's fine. Keep on with the browny colours, browny yellows, and plenty of water in the wash. Varying the heights as you go. Try to hold your paintbrush a bit about halfway down so that you've got some freedom of movement. Just added a little bit of blue into that one. You're just building your back trees up. I might do another little one. Just added a little bit of sepia into the mix. quite like the trees that go off on the different sides as well. Adding Prussian blue into your mix, or an ultramarine blue, will always darken the colours. You can always go back in and just darken it up a bit if you didn't think it was dark enough to bring forward. I'm just softening off that bottom of the tree trunk again. Helps it stay grounded on the hill. So I'm going to pause the video now because I need a rest, and then I'm going to I'll carry on for a little while, and then we'll build some more trees in front of it. And I'm just thinking I might leave this section here. Might have a bit of a snowy scene as well. We'll see. Okay, so sorry I forgot to press play, record. So I'm just doing a bit of a darker tree trunk now. That's going to be in the foreground. A bit more detail on these branches. These are very wintry trees, so quite bare. Just drop it a little bit more dark down that side trunk. Wash my brush, and I'm just going to soften this back. A little bit of water into there. So that's how you're building depth with your trees at the back, and then you're building trees in the foreground. I think I'm just going to put one more tree here, quite prominent. wash and brush off. Just soften away down there. So that's quite a nice painting in itself. But I'm going to continue with the greens and the browns, and I'm just going to go under some of these tree trunks just to darken them, bring them a little bit more forward into the picture. So that's all the same mixture. I've just got a damp brush. So I'm going to use some ultramarine blue, really watered down. To put some shadow colours underneath the trees. So the light's coming this way, and with this one I'm going to use the shadow to tell us what's happening on the and then I'm just going to drop in some really watery ultramarine, just to define a little bit of this bank and this snowy scene. And just to warm it up a little bit, I'm just dropping in a little tiny bit of magenta, just to add a bit of warmth on the foreground. There we have a really simple snowy foresty scene. That just allows you to play with the different colours and depths, and just to get to a feel for those colours. And then of course, because it's snowy, you can then add some Dr. Martens. So this is my trusty bleed-proof Dr. Martens. Just drop. I always just put a piece in the lid, and then I'm just going to go on the branches and drop on some little bits of snow. and maybe a little bit up on a tree trunk as well. Maybe you've got a pooling of snow. And you could add some around the base. And then on this little chappy. As always, less is more. You don't want to obliterate what's underneath, but that sort of sense of fun and if you just want to do the main trees, that's fine. If you don't want to do them, that's fine as well. It's your painting. You make it what you want, but it does just lift out those main trees. Which is really nice. And then you can just put your lid back on that because it's just water in there. So there we go, a really, really simple, snowy, foresty scene in around half an hour's painting time. Oh, go on, I'll splatter some snow. And why not? So, Dr. Martens, a bit of water and a bit of snow splatter for a bit of fun. There we go. Yeah, bit of snow splatter for a little bit of fun. I'll just lift it up and you can have a look at that. Hopefully you can see and enjoy.